Ever since the release of Attack of the Clones, I've been infatuated with the concept of clone troopers. An army of genetically enhanced Jango Fett clones was one of the coolest things my younger self ever saw, and the cool factor of the clones never really faded. I mean, rewatch their big debut on Geonosis. Say what you want about Attack of the Clones, but that was a fantastic scene. So when I obtained Star Wars Battlefront II, I was stoked. I missed out on the first one due to a lack of a PS2 or an Xbox, so getting the sequel and being able to participate in the Clone Wars, as well as the Galactic Civil War, was mind-blowing. But the game is over 10 years old now, which begs the question, is Battlefront 2 still all it's cracked up to be? With the new Battlefront on the scene, there's no better time to take a closer look at the game's spiritual predecessor. Battlefront 2 has two central campaign modes, with the main one being called The Rise of the Empire. This mode covers the story of the 501st Legion, Anakin and later Vader's elite clone squadron. The story covers everything from an unseen battle of the Clone Wars on Megiddo, all the way up to the Battle of Hoth from Empire Strikes Back, with some neat filler taking place in between key points covered in the movies. You get to play through neat snippets of Star Wars history that isn't covered in the movies, such as when the 501st, now known as Vader's Fist, attack Yavin 4 to take revenge on the rebels for the destruction of the Death Star and the toll that took on the Legion. The gameplay aspect of the missions is also interesting, as each one has unique goals that coincide with the plot points they cover. One mission on Felucia has you taking down Acklays that threaten the troop, while another has you killing Jedi in the Temple, as part of Order 66. The brief playable appearances of heroes and villains such as Ki-Adi-Mundi and Anakin also provide a goal to work towards as part of the gameplay, as well as some variety in playstyle. Each mission is preceded by a voiceover by Temuera Morrison himself, the voice of Jango and the clones, that describes the events taking place from the clones' point of view. This adds some real emotion to each mission, making you actually empathize with the Empire, or at least the 501st, at a few points. This attention to detail is remarkable and provides a unique and interactive look at some of the most interesting parts of the Star Wars universe and its story. The mode itself may not be that long, clocking in a couple hours at most, but it accomplishes its goal, and is one of the many modes that Battlefront 2 has. The game's other main campaign mode is called Galactic Conquest. While less heavy on the story front, Galactic Conquest instead focuses on a more strategy-based gameplay system. You control a fleet of units, which varies depending on the chosen campaign, and move your ship across a grid-based map of the galaxy, with the goal of conquering key planets through third-person shooter skirmishes. The four campaigns have you conquer the galaxy as the Republic, the CIS, the Empire, and the Rebels. Each campaign has its own unique ending, which gives a brief but interesting look at how the galaxy would fare in each faction's hands. The gameplay itself is pretty enjoyable, as you feel like some sort of great tactician as you guide your fleet throughout the galaxy to conquer everything in your sight. As you battle enemies on the ground, or by using spaceships above planets, you get the experience of being both a commanding officer and a soldier on the front lines. Each conquered planet or battle with an enemy fleet rewards you with credits, which can be spent on bonuses such as new unit classes, stat improvements, a higher number of units, or playable heroes and villains. This makes your conquests feel more realistic, as it becomes a battle of resources as well as tactics. This adds an entirely different dimension to combat, as you can either be at an advantage or disadvantage at any time. But it never feels too unfair, at least for the player. AI players are pretty easy to dominate with a hero or villain character at your side, but having to fight extra enemy units, or enhanced ones, makes you truly feel like an underdog, as the mission is actually achievable, just slightly more difficult. Though these two modes are great in their own ways, the mode I sunk the most time into was definitely Instant Action. Instant Action mode is exactly what it sounds like. You pick whatever maps you want to battle on, the game modes you want to play on each map, and what era you want to play in, the selectable eras being the Clone Wars and the Galactic Civil War. There are a ton of distinct and diverse maps, ranging from planets like Felucia and Geonosis to smaller locations like the Jedi Temple on Coruscant and Jabba's Palace. There are even space maps for starship battles, each taking place over a different planet. The maps are full of life and have little nods to the movies everywhere. Jabba's Palace has the Rancor in the basement and Gamorrean guards running around. The Death Star lets you go into the garbage compactor even as it slowly closes. There are lots of little details across the game's different maps, which shows just how passionate the developers must have been about Star Wars. Anyways, so the main game mode is Conquest, which is where you capture command posts as the Republic, CIS, the Rebels, or the Empire, depending on the chosen era. Basically, you have a set amount of units, numerous playable classes, including classes that are unlocked through gaining kills, and a number of command posts to capture. The overall gameplay is fantastic, as you really feel like a soldier in the Star Wars universe. This game even lets you command units around you, which really furthers the feeling that you're part of a unit. There's also a great variety of other modes, ranging from more basic things like Capture the Flag, to new and really unique modes like Hunt and Heroes Assault. Hunt has you play as a planet's indigenous species, like Ewoks or Wampas, or invaders of some sort, like Rebels or the Empire. Playing as a Tusken Raider or a Gungan is an experience in and of itself, but I can't say I ever thought I'd play as a Jawa in a Battlefront game. Hunt is an interesting and fun mode, but it's nothing compared to Heroes Assault. The amount of time my friend and I put into this mode is sickening. Heroes Assault has you play on Mos Eisley as any of the heroes or villains in a massive cross-generational brawl. Everywhere you look, you'll see some insane matchup, like Darth Maul and Yoda dueling, or Princess Leia and Jango Fett having a shootout. It's utter madness in the most fantastic way. And then there's space battles. Oh, wonderful space battles. There's a reason people love this mode so much, and it's because it's remarkably fun. You and your opponent each have a main command ship that you spawn in. From there, you can either stay inside and control turrets to protect the command ship, or you can take one of many different starships and head into the vastness of space. Each era and faction has their own number of unique ships that all handle very differently. TIE fighters are fast and fragile, while clone transports are slower but can take a ton of hits and carry lots of people. There's a great amount of diversity between each ship, which makes each flight feel truly unique. Once you're out in space, you have a couple options. You can fly around and target the enemy fleet's external systems, or enemy ships to thin out the opposition's numbers. Or you can fly and maneuver your way into the enemy's command ship and destroy them from the inside. This has always been my favorite way of doing things, as it's really thrilling to blast your way through your enemy's ship as you whittle away at their internal systems, like their shields and life support. There are just so many different ways to participate in space battles that almost anyone could find a way to have fun while simultaneously being helpful to their team. Overall, Battlefront 2 is a ridiculously fun and intense game to play. I'm of the belief that there's no game that conveys the feeling of being a clone, droid, rebel, or stormtrooper as well as this game does. And the game looks really nice for a PS2 game. As I said before, the maps are detailed and colorful when they should be. The character models are great as well, as they look decently realistic, at least for the PS2. The visuals also go a long way in giving this game the Star Wars feeling that I always bring up. Seeing red, blue, and green lasers flying through the air all around the battlefield is nothing short of magical, and it really adds to the frantic feeling of galactic warfare that the game aims to hit. And the whole game has a subtle sort of grittiness to its look, which adds to the intense atmosphere and makes it really feel like you're fighting a galactic war. And Battlefront 2's sound is just as complementary to the gameplay as the visuals. The game is full of iconic noises, like the sharp sound of a blaster, or the piercing shriek of a TIE fighter. And the music is fantastic as well. Each hero and villain has a theme that's a modified version of an iconic song from the movies, and they're all very fitting. Anakin's theme, for example, is a modification of Battle of Heroes, and it sounds really nice. Altogether, the sound is fantastic, and like the visuals and gameplay, really goes the extra mile to bring you into the Star Wars universe. So, how has Battlefront 2 aged after all these years? Honestly, really, really well. The game's got plenty of content, and it does an amazing job of putting you in the role of a Star Wars soldier. Most importantly though, the game is still fun. It's a blast to soar through space in your favorite Star Wars ship, and to lay waste to rebel scum on Hoth. Battlefront 2 mixes the magic of Star Wars with well thought out and enjoyable gameplay, and that's what makes it, in my opinion, one of the best Star Wars games out there.